Gene, we have a situation brewing with the carbon dioxide.
We had a CO2 filter problem on the lunar module.
5 filters on the limb.
Which were meant for 2 guys for a day and a half. So I told the doc.
You're already up to 8 on the gauges. Anything over 15 and you get impaired judgment, blackouts, the beginnings of brain asphyxia.
What about the scrubbers on the command module?
They take square cartridges.
The ones on the limb are round.
Tell me this isn't a government operation.
This just isn't a contingency we've remotely looked at.
Those CO2 levels are going to be getting toxic.
Well, I suggest you gentlemen invent a way to put a square peg in a round hole. Rapidly.
Okay, people, listen up. People upstairs handed us this one, and we gotta come through. We gotta find a way to make this fit into the hole for this, using nothing but that.
Have you heard the people upstairs have handed us this one? We got to fit this into this using nothing but that. Does that happen to you a lot nowadays? Sure, it's happened to me a lot. Sure, it's happened to me, and you got to do it rapidly. Rapidly. So, how do you manage that? Well, one of the things to consider is principle of management by intuition. So in other words, you're not going to have all the data. Things are moving very rapidly. They're very simultaneous. It's very complex. So how do you manage in a situation like that? Well, you sometimes need to be intuitive about it. You sometimes, and this is where actually it's kind of interesting. I have failed enough in my life that I now have enough intuition around how to solve problems, right? I've got a lot of scars on my back that I can show you that have taught me lessons that are very intuitive at this point. So I'm not afraid of transformation much anymore. Whereas earlier in my career I was, and I tried to control the situation. I tried to control the environment. But when you have to manage by intuition, you can't control. Matter of fact, when you surf a tsunami, it's very intuitive because you never quite know what the waves are going to do. You never quite know what's going on in the ocean. You don't quite know where the coral is. So you got to be very intuitive around how to stay on top a tsunami or even a surf. So management by intuition is very important. For example, developing a collaborative governance structure where you're involving both the clinicians and the managers and the union members all into one sort of governance structure, like Kaiser Permanente did, that's a very intuitive kind of thing to do in a very complex environment, very complex world that's moving very rapidly and causing all sorts of changes for Kaiser to face out in California. Or discontinuing your contract with your largest provider. That's an intuitive thing to do. You don't just naturally do that. That's not something that you would get up in the morning and say, oh, I think I'm going to discontinue my contract with my largest contractor. So the whole issue of intuition becomes very important.